Dear devotees, Hare Krishna. So, I wish to welcome you all after a period of around 2 to 3 weeks break. We're coming back for our online Vaishnav Sangh. So, I sincerely pray to the Lordship Sri Radha Golokananda and Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada that the best, the causeless mercy upon all of us. And I hope that you all had a very nice Ram Navami celebration. So, as Srila Prabhupada says, preaching is the essence. So, we continue to preach, dear devotees. So, for the pleasure of Sri Radha Golokananda and Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. So, today we are bringing to you an online session regarding our identity. So, how do we discover our identity? So, discovering one's identity. So, we're going to go through that, dear devotees. Thank you. So, we are going to start with the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashilakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. So, dear devotees, once again, I wish to welcome you all for our online Vaishnav Sangh. So, today is the first session, and these were the Vaishnav Sangha that we have been doing for quite a long time. We have been doing these seminars in the temple in the past, so we're bringing them to you. So, we're going back to all the basics. So, today we're going to talk about Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. So it's a very interesting topic. Many times we come across these terms, but we are not able to understand, to comprehend the meaning of these terms, Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. So we'll try to simplify these terms for you today, dear devotees, and we're going to quote from Shastra, mostly from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Bhagavad Gita and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita regarding these three terms. So we are going to start. If we want to know about our identity, so then what should we know? So first question will be, who am I? This is usually what we ask ourselves, and the answer is coming from the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, where the Lord explains, Aham Brahmasmi. So I, the spirit soul, I am Brahman, spirit. And if you understand a bit further, Jive Swarupoy Krishnir Nityadas. So the living entity is an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme God, as quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 20, text 108. And in Bhagavad Gita also it's mentioned, Mamay Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutah Sanatana Manah Shasthani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karshati. Chapter 15, text 7. Where the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts, as Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself declares. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So now, dear devotees, we are going to see that if we know that we are spirit soul, that we know that we are supposed to be an eternal servant of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, and that we are all fragmental parts of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, then what is expected of us? What should we do? So we should ask the next question: what should I do? So this is now we're showing our jigyasa, means we want to know, we're curious to know. So now therefore one should inquire into Brahman. This is given in the Vedanta Sutra, and Vedanta Sutra 1.1.1. So now therefore one should inquire into Brahman, the Supreme Lord. So once we understand who we are spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Personal Godhead, and we are eternally the servant of Bhagavan, then what should we do? Now we should inquire into Brahman. So then, how do we do? How do we proceed? And what are being explained by our acharyas? So here comes the three important terms: Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. So Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana, actually, first term is Sambandha. This represents the relationship that we have, that we share with Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And that eternal relationship is that we are a servant of Bhagavan. Jive Swarupo Nitya Krishna Das. Now, what do we mean by Abhidheya? Now, Abhidheya, actually, they mean the activities. What activities should be done if we want to establish that relationship? So then we have to do bhakti, devotional service under the guidance of our spiritual master. And finally, Prayojana. And what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is going back home, back to Godhead, and we also need to attain pure love of God. So this is supposed to be these three terms, Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana, in a very summarized form, because if you go in very philosophical terms, we are going to go too deep, but we have tried to keep it very simple, dear devotees. So briefly, if you want to understand that Sambandh means the relationship that we have with Bhagavan Shri Krishna, and Abhidheya means the activities that we should do, and we have Prayojan means the ultimate goal of life. And we see that we have the blessings of Srimati Radharani, so that we're just seeking her blessings so that we can at least start on this path. Because without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, we cannot even think of doing devotional service. So once we understand these three terms of Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana, then we're going to see some evidences from scriptures where it's mentioned about these three different terms. So the Vedanta Sutra consists of 4 chapters describing Sambandha Gyan, Abhidheya Gyan and Prayojana Gyan. So this is already in the Vedanta Sutra. 4 chapters are there. Now in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 106, the purport, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada explains that the Vedanta Sutra consists of 4 chapters. The first 2 chapters discuss the relationship of the living entity with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is known as Sambandha Gyan, or knowledge of the relationship. Sambandha means relationship. We want to know the relationship. Now these are from the first 2 chapters. Now the third chapter in the Vedanta Sutra describes how one can get, or one can act in his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is called Abhidheya Gyan. So the relationship of the living entity with the Supreme Lord is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jive Swarup Hoy Krishna Nitya Das. So this is our Swarup. This is our eternal, we should say, constitutional position. And we are Nitya Das, eternally servant of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So the living entity is an eternal servant of Krishna, the Supreme God. Now therefore, to act in that relationship, one must perform sadhana bhakti, or the prescribed duties of service to the Supreme Personal Godhead, and this is called Abhidheya Gyan. So we have seen the definition of Sambandha Gyan. Next we have seen about Abhidheya Gyan. And in the fourth chapter of the Vedanta Sutra, we see that it describes the result of such devotional service. And this is called Prayojan Gyan. And what are the results? This ultimate goal of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. The words Anavriti Shabdat in the Vedanta Sutra indicate this ultimate goal. So, first part of the evidences, we go to the next part of the evidences coming from Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're going to see again about uh, Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. So, according to the Vedic principles, there are three stages of spiritual advancement, namely Sambandha Gyan, Abhidheya and Prayojana. Now, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 73, in the purport, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada explains, according to the Vedic principles, there are three stages of spiritual advancement, namely Sambandha Gyan, Abhidheya and Prayojana. Now, Sambandha Gyan refers to establishing one's original relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Abhidheya refers to acting according to that constitutional relationship, and Prayojan is the ultimate goal of life, which is to develop love of Godhead, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned, Prema Pumartha Mahan. So, if one adheres to the regulative principles under the order of the spiritual master, he very easily achieves the ultimate goal of his life. A person who is addicted to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that person very easily gets the opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. So what more do we require? All is explained by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada here. So we move to the next evidence, again coming from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Madhya Leela this time, in the 25th chapter, text 102. So in the translation here, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada explaining that the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, our relationship with the Supreme Lord, our activities in that connection and the goal of life is manifest in the four verses of Srimad Bhagavatam known as the Chaturshloki. So as in Bhagavad Gita, we have the Chaturshloki from chapter 10, texts 8, 9, 10 and 11. So similarly, we have the Chaturshloki in Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's from the second canto. We're going to just to see that in a few minutes, dear devotees. So that is coming from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So everything is explained in those verses. So we are going to see now what these verses in brief. So in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have in chapter 9, text 33 to 36. So we're going to see how these four verses are very, very important in helping us establish our relationship with Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So here, actually, this is a conversation between Brahmaji and Srila Narad Muni. But here, this conversation is between Bhagavan Shri Krishna and Brahmaji. So here, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is explaining to Brahmaji, Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, and there was nothing but myself. Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So here Bhagavan Shri Krishna is putting it clear in front of Brahmaji that before him there was no one and after him there will be no one. Then in the next three verses, in text 34, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. So everything should be connected to Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So anything that is not connected to Bhagavan Shri Krishna, definitely that is illusion. Now in text 35, Bhagavan Shri Krishna explains to Brahmaji, "Oh Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time, I am outside of everything." So, this is how Bhagavan Shri Krishna explains he is within and without. And in text 36, a person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, most certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. So this is how we are connecting this point of Sambandha Abhidheya and Prayojana with the Chaturshloki, as explained by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada in his purport and his translations. So now we are going to see after Chaturshloki that our six Goswamis of Vrindavan, out of the six Goswamis, we are going to mention their names first, and then here we're going to see how the three of them are going to help us, and actually they have been established as acharya of Sambandha, of Abhidheya and Prayojana. So the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, we have the eldest among them is Sri Sanatana Goswami, and Sri Rupa Goswami. He is the leader of the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. The youngest is Sri Jiva Goswami, and we have Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami. So each one of them, they have a specific connection with a specific deity in Vrindavan. So we're going to see how Sri Sanatan Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami are connected to the three main deities of Vrindavan, and how, when we talk of Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana, how these three acharyas are there to help us. So we go to the first Sambandha Tattva. So the Sambandha Acharya is Srila Sanatana Goswami, and the presiding deities of for Sambandha Tattva is Sri Sri Radha Madana Mohanji, and as we offer our obeisances to their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Madana Mohanji ki Jai. Jaitam Surator Pangor Mama Manda Mate Ragati Mat Sarvasya Padam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohanu. So glory to all merciful Radha and Madana Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. So this is actually the prayer that Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj, before he starts writing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he glorifies these three main deities of Vrindavan, starting from the first deity, the Sambandha Adidev, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan. Then as we proceed, we go to the Abhidheya, Adidev Pranam mantra, and also the Abhidheya Tattva. There we're going to see that the Abhidheya Acharya is Srila Rupa Goswami, and the deity, the presiding deities for Abhidheya Tattva is Shri Shri Radha Govinda Devaji, who is there. Originally all these deities were in Vrindavan, but now these beautiful deities, you know, they have been relocated to different places, and they're currently in Jaipur. So because of the past, Muslim invasion, and to protect the deities, that's why they had been relocated to different places. So Shri Shri Radha Govinda Devji is the presiding deity for Abhidheya Tattva, and the pranam mantra that we usually use for invocation for Shri Shri Radha Govinda Devji. Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Shrimadatnagar Simhasanastho Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtalibhi Sevamanos Smarami. So in a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Shri Shri Radha Govinda served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Bhagwan Ki Jai. So then, after having taken shelter of Shri Shri Radha Madana Mohanji and Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ji, now we go to the third tattva, is the Prayojana tattva, and the Prayojana Acharya is Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and the presiding deities for Prayojana tattva are Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ji. Shri Radha Gopinath Ji ki Jai. So the pranam mantra for Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ji, Sriman Rasa Rasarambhe Vamsi Vata Tathastitaha Karshan Venu Sanir Gopi Gopinatha Shristo Namaha. Srila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands on the shore of Vamshivata and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon us their benediction. So Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ji ki Jai. So as you have seen, dear devotees, we have gone through the three main deities of Vrindavan. At the same time, we have seen how they help us in our progress in bhakti, on the path of bhakti. So starting from Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. Now we're going to discuss about the types of relationship, Sambandha. What are the different types of relationship that we can have with Bhagavan Shri Krishna? So as mentioned in the nectar of devotion, there are actually 12 rasa or 12 mellows, out of which 5 are prominent. So the first one is Shantaras. Shantaras meaning the passive state, neutral. We're going to give some examples. Then we have Dasyaras, active state, and in the Dasyaras, there the mood is about serving. We are there as a das, as a servant. Then as we move ahead, we have Sakhyaras. We become Sakhya in the mood of friendship, and Vatsalyaras in parental love, and finally the topmost of them is Madhuryaras, conjugal love. So we're going to see each one of them with some examples of devotees who are in these different states, or who are enjoying these different types of ras. So for the Shantaras, we have examples of devotees in the Shantaras, passive state or neutral. The 4 Kumaras, Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan and Sanat Kumar. So they are there in this mood. And the holy dhams such as Vrindavan Dham. So these examples are there where they are actually in this mood, where they are not active, but they are in the passive mood. They are neutral. So the 2 examples of devotees, even Dham is there as a devotee, and we should not forget that Dham is manifested from Bhagavan, from Balram, from Bhagavan, from Anant Shesh. So there's an expansion. So Balram actually he expands in all these moods. This is the specialty of Lord Balram. He is Sevak Bhagavan. So in this mood of Sevak Bhagavan, he serves Bhagavan Shri Krishna in all these 5 different moods. So in the mood of Shantaras, as we mentioned here, we have the Dham. Then next we have the example of those who are in the Dasyaras, or the active state of servitorship. So examples of these devotees, we have the Devas and Devis. So all the Devta Devis, such as Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and all the, as you say, 33 Koti, 330 million Devta Devis. They are there in that mood. Then we also have Uddhav, who is, we know the beautiful pastime of Uddhav as explanation of Bhagavatam. So Uddhav is there in the Dasyaras. We have Daruk, who is there are the charioteer. So we should just mention that Uddhav is the cousin brother of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, and he looks exactly just like Bhagavan Shri Krishna, and it was him that Bhagavan Shri Krishna sent to Vrindavan after so many years, just to go and to pacify the gopis. And the gopis were actually confused. They thought that Bhagavan Shri Krishna has come back, because Uddhav was looks so similar to Bhagavan Shri Krishna. But the only difference is that Uddhav doesn't wear the kastub mani, so they could understand that he is not Krishna. Why? Because he doesn't have the kastub mani. So in that sense, Uddhav is there in the Dasya. So he went to Vrindavan to pacify the gopis and to tell them that Bhagavan Shri Krishna would come. Then there's Daru who is there as the charity of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. There's Upananda and Bhadrak. So also many examples of devotees. So they are there in this Dasya Ras. Then there's Raktak and Pratak. So all these devotees are there already in the Dasya Ras. We move to the Sakhya Ras, in the mood of friendship. So we have so many examples here. So examples of those who are slightly older than Bhagavan Shri Krishna when he is doing his childhood pastimes. So we have Subhadra, we have Mandali Bhadra, we have Bhadra Vardhan. So they are just small boys, cowherd boys, a bit they slightly older than Bhagavan Shri Krishna in his childhood pastimes. Then younger than Bhagavan Shri Krishna, we have Maranda, Kandham, and Devaprasth. And those who are of the same age as Bhagavan Shri Krishna, we have Sridham, we have Sudama, Stoka Krishna. So this is how Bhagavan Shri Krishna enjoys his childhood pastimes, and he shares that kind of relationship with his sakhas. So this is the example, some examples of devotees who are enjoying this ras of friendship with Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Then we come to the level of parental love, or Vatsalya ras. And already we see in this beautiful picture that we have Yashoda Mata and Nanda Maharaj for taking care of Bhagavan Shri Krishna as a small baby. So examples of devotees in Vatsalya ras, we have Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata. We have Mata Rohini. We also have the mothers of the Gopals. We have Kunti Maharani. We have Vasudev and Devaki, who are there, the parents of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And Sandipani Muni, who is the guru, the spiritual master of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. But he also shares that kind of parental love towards Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Then finally we come to the level of Madhuri Ras, or as we mentioned as conjugal love. And we see here Bhagavan Shri Krishna surrounded by the Ashtasakhis, and the main gopi among all the gopis, they have a very dearmost Srimati Radharani. So Srimati Radharani. Then we also have another group of gopis who are always competing with the group of gopis who are serving Srimati Radharani. So that is coming from Chandravali, who is none other than the sister of Srimati Radharani. So there's always some kind of competition between them just to please Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And the young gopis of Braj, as we mentioned here, we have so many gopis who are, and in the Ashta Sakhis who are there, we know that they are always there to assist Bhagavan Shri Krishna and Srimati Radharani in their Ras Leela, in their intimate relationship that they have. They're always there assisting, helping. So they share very special place in the pastime of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So the Ashta Sakhis are there, led by Vishakha and Lalita. So as we see here, you have Lalita, Vishakha, and we also going to have Champaklata, we have Chitra Sakhi, then we have Indulekha, we have Tunga Vidya, we have Ranga Devi, and we have Sudevi. So all these Ashta Sakhis are there. They are there to assist Bhagavan Shri Krishna in his beautiful pastime. So, dear devotees, we have just reached the end of today's small, humble presentation. So, I wish to thank you all for those who have been able to follow live, or those who are not follow, then maybe you can have a look at this presentation and you can comment whenever you feel like. So we are using another uh, kind of software just to be able to serve the lordships as far as possible as we can. So that is here. So thank you very much. So today we had presented discovering one's identity, and hoping that this very humble presentation might have helped you in understanding these three very important topics that Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we always preach about that: Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. So we are going to end today's mm, live online Vaishnav Summit, dear devotees. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you next week for another presentation. So we'll try to start a bit earlier, because maybe the time also is not so appropriate for many of you. But for those who have been able to follow, thank you very much. Your servant, Das Dasamidas Pankaj Das. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Golokananda Bhavan Ki Jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari.